Hi, this is Megan with Beadaholique, and today I'm going to show you how to do tubular herringbone bead weaving. So I'm going to use a 10-0 Delica seed bead, but it'll work with any seed bead. What you're going to need is some kind of base to work off of. I'm just using a straw. Your bead weaving will be just a little bit wider, thicker than whatever you use as a base. So find something that is a size that you want to work on, and you can use pens, pencils, straws, thick wires, anything that's not going to bend too much on you and that is nice and straight and round. I've even used larger noodle beads for that, depending on what you're looking for. So go ahead and thread a beading needle, and the tubular herringbone, much like regular herringbone, flat herringbone, it starts with a ladder stitch as a base row to work off of. So you're gonna create a ladder stitch that's long enough to wrap around your form. So go ahead and string 2 beads, and then go back through your first bead. And then you're going to go through the next bead again, string a bead, and go back through. If you're not familiar with ladder stitch, I'm just going to gloss over it here, so you can also watch our video on how to do ladder stitch if you need a little bit more of an in-depth tutorial. So back through, and then through that bead. And I've already measured mine around, and I know that I need about 14 beads. For the tubular herringbone, you do need an even number of beads. So go ahead and create your ladder stitch and test to see how long. You also might have to, experiment with what you use as your structure, your cylinder form, because you do want it to have a good fit also with an even number of beads and not be too loose or too tight. If it's too tight, it's gonna not give you a solid bead weaving, and if it's too loose, it's not going to provide you with as much structure. But too loose is probably better than too tight if you can't get a nice fit. So once you have your ladder stitch the right length that will meet around there, what you're going to do is just reinforce that ladder stitch. It's going to be the base for your whole tube, so you want it to be nice and strong. So just stitch back and forth, back through the ladder stitch all the way back to the beginning. That's going to keep your beads straight too. It's going to keep them from kind of zigzagging back and forth. Give you a nice stable base. Then you're going to bring your beads around into a ring and go down through that other end bead there to create a loop, and then continue back through the original bead, and then reinforce that as well. And you're going to go ahead and put that on what you're using as your form. Now, if you're familiar with the flat herringbone stitch, it's going to be worked pretty much the same way, except it goes around the form instead of flat back and forth. So you want to get your base row as snug around your form as possible here. You don't want to leave a gap. So the first thing you'll do is pick up 2 beads and go down through the adjacent bead to the one that you're coming out of. And you can hold your tail for the first part. It's going to help you hold it steady. And pull that down. And then you're going to go back up through the next bead in the foundation. Pick up 2 beads and go back down through the next bead in the foundation row. Pull it tight, up through the following. And you're just going to continue like that around, which is why you need an even number of rows, is because it's going to be two beads at a time when herringbone stitch. And if they don't lay nice and evenly, you can just pull the thread in the middle up with your needle and pull it back down. Back up through the next bead, pick up 2 beads, and down through that one. And just keep going all the way around. Okay. And as you can see, I've got a little tiny gap there in my foundation row, so just give it a tug. Here is where it's important because you're going to now join the next row. So you're done with your second row. When you're going to go back up now, not only through your base row bead, but also through the bead in the first row that we just stitched, and so through rows 1 and 2. And you're going to step up to your next row that way. And now we're going to start row 3, so you need to add 2 beads and go down only through the second row bead right there. And then up through the next bead over. Add 2 beads and down through the next bead. Don't go all the way back down through, just through the one in the previous row. And up through the next one. And don't be worried if it seems like it's lifting away from your foundation. The last row of herringbone, it will not be quite secured until you put the next row on top of it. So it will get a little bit more secure once you go in and use the next row to stabilize it. So down through the next bead, up through the one next to that. Add 2 beads, down through the next one. And just continue around until you finish row 3. And then at the end of the row, again, you're going to go through, up through the bead like normal and up through the first bead in row 3. And you'll step up every row just the same way. And now you're ready to stitch row 4. So just continue in that way until your tube is as long as you want it to be. When you finish making your tube as long as you want, what we're going to do is actually ladder stitch the last row together so that it matches the front. So go ahead and go right through the next bead over and back up. And back down. And then move on, oops, don't get caught on your form. Move on to the next bead around, and you're going to continue just like that. If you're familiar with ladder stitch, then It'll be really simple. And that will make your beginning and your ending uniform, and it will also secure the last row of beads, since herringbone does need the next row to kind of really secure it down. So just all the way around. All right, and once you get back to the point at which you started, oops, you're just going to go ahead and connect those ones with a couple of loops as well, and then just tie off and weave in your thread, and that's going to be how you finish that tube. Once you slide it off your form, you'll have a nice tube, that pretty herringbone stitch.